Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Sunset Rider. My name's Jackie and today we're going to go through making some of the ocean and some of the background. I'll explain the process as we're going along. Hopefully I can point out anything that might be helpful to you when you're making your own picture. So here I'm using a blue and a dark purple, or you could use a dark blue if you wanted to. And I'm now simply mixing them together. I'm going to start to lay down the colours to make the beginning layer of the sea. As I'm laying the blue down, I'm not worrying too much about going over the pictures that I've already drawn, as I can go back to that later on and uncover it again. My biggest priority right now is to get the blue onto the ocean. So again, as I've said before in my last video, it really just gives me a place to begin. I'm only actually doing this side because where the sun comes across the ocean is going to be the darker side, and you'll see in a moment I'm going to use a ruler because it's very important that I make sure that the horizon line is level. There's nothing worse than the sea going in a wonky direction. I'm now mixing together some lighter blue. This is to go on the light side, basically the same as the dark side. I just want to cover it all in this colour to give me a base to start and put the lighter colours on in a moment. Again, I'm checking the horizon line to make sure it stays level. Now, if you remember in the previous video, I suggested you hung on to the yellow pieces that you had left over. And this is why, because when you put the colour over the blue in a minute, it's going to match the colours you already have. So it keeps some consistency in the picture. I'm just putting thin layers of wool over the blue just to start to hint at the sun reflecting on the water. And I'm doing the same thing with the blue on this side. I'm mixing a little of the yellow in with the blue very thinly and just laying it over the surface of the blue we've already got there. Again, this is to start to reflect the sun on the water, but it won't be as bright as on the light side. Once again, this is where the multi-tool comes in very useful. It keeps the wool spread nicely apart and keeps it so that it doesn't clump together in strips, which it would do if I went in with the little needle first. I needed to try and keep it as delicate as I can. I'm now going to add some more yellow to this side. It's still mixed in with a little blue, but it's a little brighter as well because the sun would really reflect quite strongly near the horizon. you're unsure where you think the light would land or the colour of the sky, you can always use a reference picture. This is what I do, and I like to look back and forth to make sure that I'm getting the colours where they should be. This is one of my favourite colours for doing wool pictures. It does everything. I've done shadows, bricks, and now I'm going to use it because it makes a lovely distance colour for mountains. I'm not doing anything fancy with it at the moment. I'm just making sure I've done the outline of the mountain. So it doesn't matter, you're not thinking about shading or anything else, just try and get your shape in. It does look quite dark at the moment, but later on I will go back over it with some yellow just to lighten it up, and again obviously because it's near the sun it would have some of the light from the sun on it. Here I'm adding just a fine amount of the yellow and white that was mixed together. I'm just really making like an atmosphere that will define between the two mountains in a minute. And right here, as you can see, I'm now adding a little extra very, very finely of the yellow and white mixture over the top of the mountain. I'm aiming to have the edge of the mountain almost blur into the background. This is why you see me keep adding small bits to the edge like that. Now I've gone in with a darker brown to do the next mountain along. Again, I'm not looking for anything other than just getting the shape in. You have to remember that once you're looking at this picture, if you were actually standing on the beach at dusk, a lot of this in the distance would be quite vague. It wouldn't be really defined in any way. So that's what I'm going for at the moment. I need to put it in so I can kind of take it back out again in a minute. In this instance, because I'm doing a seascape, you would have a lot of sea spray which would make everything a little hazy in the corner over there. So really that's where I'm going. I'm going to put it in and then I'm going to go for the hazy look, which is why really a lot of it will be less defined in a minute. There was a bit of a skip there, but all I'd done was add some extra of the yellow and white mixture back onto the mountain and put it in. So I've dulled down the brown really. Can play about here and have the mountains obviously any shape you like. I don't think there's a specific thing that makes it any special kind of a mountain way. I mean they could even just be hills if you wanted. all I'm doing here now is just keep adding in extra bits of the yellowy mixture that I've got, yellow and white, just to keep pushing the mountains further into the distance and making them less intense. The other thing to consider as well is that where the light doesn't hit the mountain, you would have some dark shadows. So that's why you will see me leaving a little bit of the darkness. I do like to put a frame on it every so often because it helps me see the final picture and it sees what's inside the frame and outside the frame. The parts I'm adding now are actually going to be like the mist coming off the sea and up the mountains, and this is what I was talking about where you're going to have the haze in the distance. All it is just some more of the yellow and white that we had left over. The biggest thing with this part is that you make sure you put it on very, very finely because you don't want to block out completely the mountains behind it. Now I'm starting to lay in the path where the sunlight hits the water and would come towards the shore. Yep, I'm back to adding more of the orange colour on this side. I really need to start defining the waves as they come nearer to the edge. So this is what this is all about. It's just a little bit stronger to see where the waves are going to be. I don't actually know yet. I'm going to let the wool show me. This is where the fine layering comes in. It really does make a difference if you don't go and put it on really heavy-handed. The wool I'm actually using is a merino tops or roving, so it's very fine and it can go in straight lines. I don't like carded wool for doing seas or skies because I like to be able to pull the wool in long, thin strands, which keeps everything nice and flat. This is where I'm starting to define the waves now. I've got the purple colour that we used in the sky, or you could use a dark blue, and I'm just really using it to draw lines across the waves. I want this actual wave to go right across the picture, so it will go over the person I've drawn, but it doesn't really matter because, as you'll see, I'll put the wave line over the person, keep it going to the other side, and simply chop that bit out in the middle. I like to do it this way because it keeps the consistency of the line, and I think it doesn't matter whether you're putting a line through a tree or any other object. If you can keep it consistent, it looks much better. Again, all I'm doing is carrying on the line of the sunlight as it comes towards the shore. Well, I do hope that you're enjoying this series. This is the end of this next video, and I look forward to joining you in video number 3. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it.